Okay. Yeah. We were all a little younger then. We got okay.
Are you giving your comments?
Okay.
That's awesome.
It's an extended. That was. I'm here to tell you. I
Love it. Can't wait.
Yeah. I know. Middle school. I think I've been passed. Okay. I should know, but I don't know. Okay.
You're right, Bonnie.
Yep, people are great.
I'm an electrician.
What for you guys? Our neighbor across the street, when we lived in our own house, probably when I had you, used to be somehow big. He was a big wig. 30 years ago. Yeah, or longer. They were so good. Oh, fantastic. That's great. Awesome. Well, how was it? We did. 30.
I haven't seen this right one. How are you?
Have you got my purse?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Sure. I might even make that t-ball game. I might. I thought I heard it. Are you going to speak during the public comments? Okay. I'm surprised to see this. Is this all you can send?
I think they brought extras for those that didn't get them. Well, that's.
Makes it kind of lamb French 75, and it was delicious.
Oh my goodness. That sounds really good.
I'm here as an observer to gain information. And then on Thursday nights, here I am. Is this true? Sorry, no, this is you. Oh, there's one. Yes, it is. Okay. I can double check. Okay, no big deal. It just. She was asking me. Oh, wow. I don't know. I don't know.
I was hoping when we stopped there that there would be a few. Thank you. I had one in my hand, I got another one in my hand.
Papers? I checked.
Oh, sorry.
I went in here, the business cards, I did hand those out. And this is 20. Here, I'm in a hand. Absolutely. Yeah.
Last time I came to see him, I wish we were.
I was like, there's being something else. I'm really good.
I have a plant called Hello World. It's a beautiful, beautiful perennial.
Okay.
And I lost an azalea. But my thing's almost, well, shut up, what can I put in there? Rest kind of stuff that Bezos on the way home. Victorious. We love going there. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, we were there at, I'm gonna say, somewhere between 2:30 and 2:45. She's a little kid.
Oh my God. Anybody else besides you? That's kind of nice. I was wondering about that. You're not a podium person. Well, most of them
I did. You are amazing. Yeah. Is that high enough for most people? Love it. I love it. Will this be in your way?
Peggy.
See it when you get into town.
This is everything.
Yeah. How are things in Ann Arbor? Wonderful children. Very good. Well, aren't we all?
Yes. What's funny, like, I remember that you know,
Yeah.
we're the first ones making it possible, and yet it's the same.
Oh, no.
And I'm just like, wait, this was supposed to be the down.
What do you think?
But I'm going to start for next week.
Oh, yay. And what are you going to go see?
Yes.
Yeah. Annie?
Yes, we're gonna see Annie. We're not gonna see anything able. I'm going to be there like a Wednesday.
Okay. It'll be crazy here.
Yeah. Okay.
It's 5:30, I'm going to call this meeting to order. First up is roll call. And I believe Bonnie's present, I'm here, Peggy, John, Perry, Carol, and Bill is not here. So we have 6. We have more than 4. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I would like to amend the agenda under new business, the audit presentation. I'd like to move that to just before public comments so that they don't have to be here for the whole meeting.
I'll second that.
So we're going to be moving the audit.
I'm sorry, sir. Could you speak some more to the mic? It's hard for me to hear.
So we're going to move the audit from new business to after the consent agenda approval.
Correct.
Okay, are there any more additions or deletions?
I do want to have something. Under unfinished business, I just have some information I'd like to give to the board.
Regarding,
Proposed motion language for bylaw.
Could you guys please speak up so the back of the room can hear?
that's already under there, so when we get there, you can discuss it then. Okay, are there any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the change of the audit?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have the consent agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of the April 17th regular meeting, the financial reports, assistant director report, and facilities report. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Which brings us now to the Lapeer District Library audit. We have a presentation for the audit. Prepared?
I'm Eric Ferguson, and the next can be given for the audit for the year ending December 31, 2020.
Can you guys hear okay with that?
No.
Mike, try this, see if that works a little better. Each of you should have a packet in front of you, blue folder. Inside that folder there are 3 letters. The first one is on your letterhead. That is the management representation letter where you're making certain representations to us regarding your financial statements. These include that you have fulfilled your responsibilities as set out in the engagement letter, your acknowledgement that you are responsible for the design and implementation, maintenance of internal controls. You've provided everything we've asked for. You're not withholding anything from us. You're not aware of any fraud, that type of thing. There's 44 items there. Perry and Kara have already signed that letter. The second letter is required communications from us. It starts out, we have audited the financial statements. The point out certain aspects of the audit, including that you have adopted GASB Statement 100, which is for accounting changes and error corrections, and GASB 101, which deals with compensated absences. Neither of these affected your financial statements for 2024. We also point out that accounting estimates are an integral part of the financial statements, and that your biggest estimate is to deal with the pension liability. It also points out that that's your most significant disclosure is regarding the pension plan. We're happy to report we had no disagreements with management. And there's a couple other standard wordings there. You can read that as you wish. Third one starts out in planning and performing our audit. Talks about your internal controls and has a couple of suggestions there for improving them. With that, I'll move on to the financial statements. I'm going to spend most of my time in the front section of the book. We will go to Roman numeral 1. 1 through 3 are our audit report. The most important part of that report is the second paragraph on the first page of that report. It says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities and the general fund of Lapeer District Library as of December 31, 2024. It's an unmodified or clean opinion. We can't give you anything better than that. Now we'll go back to Roman numeral 5. This is part of the management's discussion and analysis. It contains a condensed version of the statement of financial position and the statement of net activities in comparative form. You can see at a glance there that your current assets increased by about $600,000. Your total assets increased by about $650,000 as well. Also includes stuff like books and computers, stuff like that. You have current liabilities of $73,000 and non-current liabilities of $2.1 million. That is reflective of the property tax revenues that are deferred into 2025. The roughly $2.4 million under deferred inflows resources is your pension, mostly due to your pension liability. So you have total liabilities of 4.6, leaving you with a net position of about $2.8 million at the end of 2024. Roman numeral 6, we've got a condensed version of your statement of net position, or changes in net position, sorry. It shows you received almost $2.2 million in property tax revenues, 2.6 roughly overall, you had total expenditures of almost 2.3, leaving you with a positive change in that position of almost $400,000. The details of all that is further back in the books. If anybody wants to look at it that any further, we can. Otherwise, that's what I have for you. Do you have any questions?
Do you guys have any questions? Can I have a motion to approve the audit?
So,
Have support? Have support. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. All right, that brings us to our first public time. I want to remind speakers that you have 3 minutes to address the board. We have two public comment times. You can speak at the beginning or at the end. You can only speak at once. So with that, is there anybody who would like to speak at the first public comment time?
Good evening. My name is Geraldine Carson, and I'm going to pray. Almighty Heavenly Father, for all who gather here, we're asking to open their eyes, their ears, their hearts, and their minds to your truth, as written in your word, Galatians 5, starting at verse 13. For you were called to freedom, brethren, only do not use your freedom as an opportunity for the flesh, but through love be servants of one another. For the whole law is fulfilled in one word. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. But if you bite and devour one another, take heed that you are not consumed by one another. But I ask, walk in the Spirit. Do not gratify the desires of the flesh, for the desires of the flesh are against the Spirit, and the desires of the Spirit are against the flesh. For these are opposed to each other, to prevent you from doing what you would. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are plain: immorality, impurity, lasciviousness, idolatry, sorcery, strife, jealousy, anger, selflessness, dissension, party spirit, envy, drunkenness, carousing, and the like. I warn you, as I have warned you before, that those who do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such is no law. And those who belong to Jesus Christ have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. If we live by the Spirit, let us also walk by the Spirit. Let us have no self-conceit, no provoking of one another, no envy of one another. And I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
At first, I was willing to give the new board members the benefit of the doubt, and I sincerely believed that they had good intentions and they were acting in the best interest of our community. However, it is now clear by the actions and the words of some of our board members that you are using fear-mongering, false narratives, and suppression of freedom of speech to force your narrow views on all of us. You took an oath to uphold the law, and you are clearly not doing so. You are not following the Constitution. You are not following the laws of our state regarding libraries. You should resign now. And since I asked this, but I didn't really get an answer, I'm going to ask Ms. Brotzke again to show me the pornography in this book. Fred gets dressed. You're welcome to read it. There's been a claim that this is pornographic, and I've asked Ms. Brotzke to show me where it's pornographic, so I brought the book.
Point out the page, take it up to her. Point out the page right now.
This is public comment.
I'm sorry?
She can address the board, but the board does not address her back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right. So I appreciate an answer when it's your time to speak.
Think there's anybody else?
Yes. My name is Julie Fernandez. I'm from Metamora. Seeing someone like yourself in books matters. Representation matters. It can be anything from your parents' divorce, financial hard times, color of your skin, sexual orientation, religious affiliation, or more. I want to share a story about a young black girl. Her lifetime of reading and subsequent success was sparked by a library book. Not just any library book, but one titled Bright April by Marquardt DeAngelis. Written and illustrated in 1946, nearly 80 years ago, it tells the story of a black girl and her family. It was the first children's book to address the divisive issue of racial prejudice. Our Marquardt DeAngelis was a pioneer. The young girl who read Bright April is Dr. Carla Hayden, the first black woman to be the head librarian at the Library of Congress. Dr. Hayden said of the book, yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, this is me. She saw herself in a book. Because of that, she's had an incredible career, working tirelessly to make our libraries better. She loved reading because of Bright April. And that is just one example of why it is so important for young people to read about experiences they're having, because it validates their existence simply by seeing themselves in a book. Somebody took the time, somebody cared. That person was our Marquardt DeAngelis. It's important to note that Dr. Hayden was unceremoniously removed from her tenure position as head librarian at the Library of Congress once President Trump took office. Caroline Levitt, his press secretary, claimed it was due to Dr. Hayden allowing children to check out inappropriate books. For the record, the Library of Congress is not a lending library, nor does it have children's books. Thank you.
My name is Susan Boyd. I would like to ask the board members how many of them have a library card? If so, how long you've had it, how many times you've used it. I know Perry has had one for years and uses it frequently. I'd also like to know how many times you have been to a library, one of the branches for DeAngelis, and I'd like to know if you have ever talked to a librarian, not talked to them, talk with them, an exchange of views, positions, without preaching at them. And I'd like to know what you base your dislike of certain books on. Is it your personal feelings? You may have some feelings, but other people have different feelings, and they are entitled to their feelings and to express their likes and dislikes of books, and the opportunity to read the books they want to read. And other than segregating books you don't like. I'd like to know what your plan is to deal with the library, to improve it, to move it forward, or are you just trying to kill it? What it feels like to some of us. And do you believe a public library should serve all of the public, or just the public that supports your point of view? And I'd also like to know why you think some people need to take an extra step out to take a book out that they want, that you think they should not be able to take out without certain permission or something. Why do they have to ask permission, ask where the book is, or embarrass themselves by having to do that? They should be able to take out any book they want from the library. I'd also like to know what you have done to fight back Trump's plan to defund libraries, museums, etc. And on a personal note, I read at least a book a week. I cannot afford these books if I have to buy them. I couldn't live without a library. I read all kinds of books, and I just could not live without a public library. Thank you.
I'm Cheryl Natus, Metamora, and we've been asked to read Mary Cowell's resignation letter to not just the board, but to people here. As an aside, I want Ms. Brotzke to pay special attention to this letter from Mary Cowell. I want to express my deepest gratitude for the opportunity to be part of the Lapeer District Library for the past 6 years. I will always cherish the support, guidance, and camaraderie I've experienced here. Writing this letter is difficult, as I never anticipated having to do so. I felt so happy here that I had once envisioned a future retiring at DeAngelis. It is important to me that you know how much I appreciate and admire the incredible team we have. I couldn't have asked for a better group of librarians to serve alongside with, and I am genuinely honored to have been part of the library's lasting positive impact on the community. One of the greatest joys during my time here has been witnessing the warmth and connection the library fosters among families as they grow. I will forever treasure the memories I've created with our patrons and the meaningful role I played in fostering an inclusive and enriching environment for them. The joy and excitement families experience in the library and their love for books will remain treasured Lapeer memories that I will hold close forever. As much as I have cherished my time here, it has been deeply troubling for me to witness the poor treatment of our director, Amy Churchill, director, Danielle Brigatti, and attorney, Ann Surnick. I am profoundly disappointed by the hostility displayed by certain outspoken local officials and the 4 library trustees who now hold the majority. Their lack of support for the library mission, its staff, and the community has been deeply disheartening and antithetical to their role as trustees.
J.C. Griffith, one newly appointed Mary Cowell's resignation letter, one newly appointed board member with whom I have been in contact for the past 3 years has repeatedly interrogated me and my coworkers in person about the presence of books like Uncle Bobby's Wedding and Fred Gets Dressed, as well as materials on puberty, simply because they do not personally approve of them. Additionally, false claims have been made by them in public forums and on a blog impersonating a credible news source regarding genderqueer being shelved in our children's department. Despite repeated corrections, these inaccuracies continue to be spread, fostering unnecessary animosity in the community of Lapeer. These falsehoods and the hostility they have fueled carry real consequences for real people who are simply trying to do their jobs in the community. I've included all the best in the future, and I will truly miss you and our patrons. Sincerely, Mary Cowell.
Good evening. My name is Kaylee, and I was raised in Lapeer with my two brothers. We all graduated from Lapeer West High School, probably so. My parents used to bring me to the DeAngelis library when I was a kid, and I have fond memories of story time and wandering through the aisles perusing books. It's here where my love of libraries began, and I continue to be a loyal patron of my local public library. I know we're all here to talk about books, but first, I'd like to talk about guns. Unfortunately, this community isn't unfamiliar with shooting deaths. A few years ago, a Lapeer student was shot and killed in Marquardt Township. Two more events, the shootings of Arthur Cohn and Andrea Adler, will always remain in my memory. This past February, I read a news headline titled, "Gun Found in Second Lapeer County School This Week." Here we have evidence that guns disrupt and even end lives in Lapeer, directly affecting children and families. Given the claims that some board members have made about books harming children, I became curious about gun-related book content available to Lapeer youth. Through the Lapeer Library's online catalog, I found book titles such as Machine Gun Manual and American Gun, The True Story of the AR-15. The fact that these books have not drawn the attention of our library board gives me pause. Again, it is evident that firearms cause not only fear, but death in Lapeer County, yet we still allow these books to remain available, where hypothetically, any child can access them. I wonder, should we keep track of anyone under the age of 18 who checks out one of these books? Should we restrict them so that anyone who wants to check them out first has to ask the library staff? If the true goal of this board is to protect our children, why do we have a machine gun manual at the library? These thoughts bring me to my main question for the library board trustees. Are the shooting deaths in Lapeer County caused by books about guns at our library? I want to ask that again. Are the shooting deaths in Lapeer County caused by books about guns at our library? The answer is absolutely not. If they were, we would be having a debate right now about whether or not to restrict the book, Guns, Conceal, and Carry. Just as allowing kids to check out books about firearms does not lead them down a dangerous path, allowing children to check out books with gay, lesbian, or non-binary characters does not cause them to be queer. To claim that books about guns directly harm children simply isn't true. To claim that books that talk about sex harm children simply isn't true. To claim that queer books at this library harm children simply isn't true. So, what's really the issue here? I'd like a real answer to that
Karen Kohlman from Marquardt. When I left off last time, I was talking about ethics, and I was talking about the Kohlmans and their connection to the Lapeer County Tribune, which disappeared mysteriously the week of that meeting. And I was talking about this picture that was in Bridge, Michigan, which was cropped and used on the Lapeer County Tribune several times over. Which is another ethics issue, but the main thing is, was someone on this board profiting from creating controversy here and then putting it on a website, advertising their business within these articles about the library board and this controversy. And so despite the fact that I was told in a FOIA denial that it doesn't. And I will direct you, there is a bunch of stuff in here about the confidentiality stuff in itself, but F in that document, which is probably all in your binders, appearance of conflict of interest, that trustees shall not engage in any other conduct which should not be strictly prohibited or may not be strictly prohibited by these board rules of conduct, but gives the appearance of a conflict of interest. That sure was a conflict of interest that Kari Kohlman had. And then what was interesting is we FOIA'd the board packets. And part of the board packets was a whole bunch of legal fees from Mr. Denney. The legal fees have just gone way up as compared to Foster Swift, who are specialists in library law. Mr. Denney is not, as to my knowledge, a specialist in library law, so he's probably got to do a ton of research. But gosh, dealing with these FOIAs, which would be 5 minutes for a library director, especially one of them in here that totaled over $100 in costs to handle, it was just one document I was asking for that was probably sitting on somebody's hard drive. But those one that was treated like a FOIA, even though it wasn't a FOIA, this was hundreds of dollars. It's hard to tell because some things were grouped. So gosh, you guys are really fiscal responsibility. You get rid of the library director, things start to cost more. You get rid of the qualified library attorney who was considered top in the state. And now we've got all these costs. Really interesting. And now we're flooding the zone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Rhonda Lord. As we all know, this board majority wants to impose its religious ideology on all of Lapeer County library users. The problem with imposing religious ideology on public institutions is that not everyone shares the same religious beliefs. Christianity, as one of many religions, boasts thousands of sects nationally and dozens of sects in Lapeer County, including LGBTQAI Christians and Christian churches. So if the board picks one set of beliefs, then it offends those who have a different set of beliefs. That's why the Founding Fathers separated church and state. And that's why public libraries were designed to serve all the public living in a geographic area without exclusion. If you want a library that only reflects your particular religious beliefs, set it up in your church basement. As you speak about the sexualization of children. No one thinks adults should be having sex with children. Even the Pope is opposed to this. However, all children are born with the capacity to love and with hormones which kick in fairly early. Some children have feelings of attraction for the same gender. There have always been gay people. There will always be gay people, whether the board approves of homosexuality or not. Some children feel like the opposite gender. Cross-dressing and living as the opposite gender goes back at least as far as ancient Rome. I'm sorry if that's new to some of you. Acknowledging these feelings and this reality is not sexualizing children. All kids play house. In some groups, Peggy plays the mom, and in some groups, John plays the mom. Role-playing and gender identification is not sexual exploitation. If you watch kids or remember, role-playing is natural and innocent. So if you're not viewing our world through the lens of the Old Testament, written thousands of years ago when people thought sand magically turned into frogs, you will find LGBTQAI kids and LGBTQAI couples with kids in Lapeer County. These families are built on love and have every right to exist. When was the last time any of you were successful at telling strangers who they should love? LGBTQAI kids have every right to see themselves and their families in public library books. They are part of our rich and diverse community and should neither be condemned nor sequestered from our public institutions by conservative religious zealots.
I have watched the shenanigans of this board. I've watched people try to sneak through votes when it was agreed that a vote would be taken after people had time to evaluate information. I've watched a 10-minute discussion on somebody getting their per diem for being here, which I have no problem with. If you're entitled to it, fine. That should have been a 5-minute discussion after hours. Fill out the paperwork, we'll see you get paid. Everybody is screaming that they want these books out of the library because of their Christian beliefs. Because people are forcing and trying to put their agenda forward. Well, what are the Christians doing but putting forth their agenda? These people will hide behind it, and there's no reason for it. This is getting ridiculous, folks. What you better realize is our forefathers, some of them established libraries for the benefit of the public. That's forefathers. Go back to the library and get a book. We don't need some foreskin deciding what we can and can't read. Yes, I said foreskin. And remember this, you don't have to have one to be one.
My name is Dave Quaker, I live in Oregon Township. I've been watching what's been going on for some time. I just got back from Florida and listening to some of the other library boards across the country. One thing, when our government was formed in Congress, what did they do when they first held a meeting? They said the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. This committee of board members has not done that, nor have they done any prayer, unlike Congress to this day has prayer before their meetings. And here we are just squabbling about Pledge of Allegiance and prayer. It's been in our history from the beginning. That's all I have to say.
Truman Mask, Inley Township. I want to come up here to encourage you guys to continue standing for what is right, doing what you know is right. We all know in our hearts what is right and wrong. So I just want to encourage you guys, be strong. If you are persecuted for righteousness' sake, then blessed are you. So I want to point out, bring you guys' attention to something. I did a little bit of research today, and the Michigan Department of Corrections, I went on their policy and that they have for their prison systems, and this is a policy that they have that says prohibiting incoming mail for inmates. I found this quite interesting. These are some of the things that are prohibited that inmates are not allowed to have access to and not allowed to see. One of it is mail describing or depicting acts of sadism, masochism, bondage, narcophilia, or bestiality, or describing, depicting, or appearing to promote sexual acts involving children. So inmates in our federal prisons are not allowed to have access to this stuff, but yet our children can in our public libraries. It goes on. There's other things that inmates are not allowed to have access to. Nude photographs, including drawings or images. They can't have access to that. Photographs, including drawings and images depicting actual or simulated sexual acts by one or more persons. These include photographs in a publication sent directly from the publisher or a vendor authorized by the facility. So even if the facility authorizes a vendor or a publication to bring literature to them, they still can't send that type of literature to the inmates. I found that very interesting. Why is it that our prison system won't allow this stuff? Inmates have access to this stuff, but yet we want to have our children have access to this stuff. Another thing, the 5th District Federal Court just had an interesting ruling on a library.
It's after time. No, it's not. He has 2 minutes, and you just took away some of his time, and I'll give it back to you.
Thank you. The 5th District Court, Federal District Court, had a case involving Lino County, Texas, where this exact issue went all the way to the 5th District Court. And they actually ruled that you cannot keep libraries from removing books in any way, shape, or form. It does not fall under the First Amendment. They said, we consider whether someone may challenge a public library's removal of books as violating the free speech clause. It says, patrons of a county library in Texas sued the librarian and other officials alleging they removed 17 books because of their treatment of racial and sexual themes. The district court ruled that defendants abridged plaintiff's right to receive information under the free speech clause and ordered books returned to the shelves. On appeal, a divided panel of our court affirmed in part, we grant and back rehearing. We now reverse the preliminary injunction and render judgment dismissing the free speech claims. We do so for 2 separate reasons. I will finish at the next public time.
You only get one public time.
Oh, you have just one? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, the court ruled that you're
Shut up.
He's an exclamation.
All right, that's enough.
I will pray for you too.
Is there anybody else from the public who would like to speak? Okay, with that, we'll close the public comment time, the first one, which brings us to board reports. Treasurer, bills to be paid for May and June. Perry?
I'm gonna make two motions. There'll be two motions, have to report for the months of May and June. First motion are to pay the bills for May, for April 18th through May 15th. General checking accounts, check numbers 15637 through 15668 for a total of $34,787.92. General checking online bill, check numbers GC 4431 through 4462 for a total of $15,330.43 for a total general checking of $50,118.35. And then payroll checking, check numbers PC 2304 through 2315 for a total of $107,056.25 for a grand total of $192,162.52.
Do I have a second?
I'll support.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those, aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Go to June.
The second motion would be for the dates of May 16th through June 18th. General checking, check numbers 15669 through 15703 for a total of $76,048.27. General checking GC 4463 through 4499 for a total of $13,839.91 for a total general checking of $89,888.18. Payroll checking, check numbers PC 2316 through 2332 for a total of $182,825.45 for a grand total of $272,713.63.
Do I have a second?
I'll support.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Committee reports. Finance?
Nothing.
I do have something for finance. I'm going to take myself off the finance committee and replace myself with Carol Brown. So can I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to remove Kari Kohlman and add Carol Brown.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Lapeer County report. Do we have anybody from the Lapeer County Commissioners that have a report for us? Moves us to unfinished business. First one is the proposed motion language for bylaw amendments regarding the Pledge of Allegiance and prayer. This is for discussion only. We will vote on it at the next meeting. In your packet, you will see the language for it. Is there any discussion?
That's for the allegiance and prayer? Oh, here it is. I couldn't find it. At previous board meetings, or last board meeting, we had some discussions on this. We asked that they be voted on separately. Will this allow that, the way it's written?
No, this is together. This, John DeAngelis was the one that requested this, and he requested that they be together. If the board, if you prefer, you can make a motion to separate them, and we can vote on that as a board.
The way this is written, they got bylaw amendment 2025-1 and 2025-2.
Yes, and it's all in the same motion.
I would like to make a motion that they be voted on as separate items.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. John? Are you, okay. Peggy? No. Carol?
No. Please reread the motion.
Want me to read the whole motion?
Yes, what are we voting on?
Is in your packet?
Read it, please.
Are we talking about the motion you made or the motion?
The motion that I made was that amendment 2025-1 and a motion 2025-2 be voted on as separate items, which would agree with what we agreed upon at a previous meeting, that they would be separate items to be voted on.
So we're doing a roll call vote on here. Do you a yes or a no for that?
No.
Motion failed. It'll go forward as on the same. Or is it? Yeah. Okay. Moves us to Pasia.
I had more discussion in regards to
He
the
gave
pledge.
time for discussion.
You made a motion and then you said,
And then I said, is there discussion?
I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
okay, I'll do it later.
No, we can discuss it.
Okay, I have something that I'd like to pass to board members. Some information that I looked up. It's all available on the internet. So the first thing I looked up was, I wanted to know what cities in Michigan have about the same population as Lapeer. So it says first page, several Michigan cities have populations similar to Lapeer. Based on recent rankings, Charlotte, Plymouth, Saline are within close range of Lapeer's population. With that in mind, the next page was how they were ranked Michigan cities. The first one was Alma, down through Howell Township. Lapeer City was near the top. On the next page was a previous page of other cities in Michigan that had approximately the same population. The reason I'm pointing this out is the very next 2 pages. I just went through randomly and picked some libraries throughout the state. And I wrote down the names of 80 libraries in Michigan. And I put the city, the name of the library in the city, and I looked at the minutes that are available online. And what I wanted to know is who says the pledge and who says a prayer. So out of 80 libraries that I looked at, different sizes, Detroit's on there, Flint, Traverse City, Grand Rapids. I mean, I tried to go big, large, whatever. Out of 80 libraries in Michigan, 9 said the pledge, 0 said a prayer, and 2 of the libraries had a moment of silence. One of them
was Detroit, and that was in honor of a former board member that had passed away. And the other moment of silence was in Pontiac. It didn't list a reason, it just had that at the beginning of the minutes. So in Michigan, there's 397 library systems. So I did 80 libraries, that's about 20% of the libraries in Michigan. So I just wanted to compare. I wanted people in the audience to be aware. I wanted our board members to be aware of what is going on right now in the state. I can look them all up if somebody wants me to, but I think that it's important that all viewpoints be given for this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion in regards to the pledge and prayer bylaw amendment?
I have a problem, biggest problem with the prayer. If you think that the prayer is going to help do anything with the library, I think you're totally nuts. All you have to do is look at Congress, in the federal government. They say their prayer before every meeting, and they are a total dysfunctional board of Congress. I don't feel that prayer needs to be put into our library system. I'll leave it at that.
Any more discussion?
Point of order to the floor. Will you hear me?
What is this? Point of order. It's not public time, sorry. Policy F, proposed motion to change the language. We were striking out disruptive, discourteous, belligerent, impertinent, threat, disparaging, or other civil, and we're changing that policy to the library board encourages free and complete public dialogue on library board issues within the bounds of civil discourse. Speakers may not breach the peace of the meeting. No person shall engage in physically threatening behavior. The board chair may limit or end the comments of any person who engages in this conduct. So do I have a motion to...
I would like to say something about civil discourse, because some people might not know what that is, so I looked it up. I was one of those people.
Yeah.
Let's put a motion on the table.
Oh. I'll make that motion.
So a motion to accept the changes for policy F was made by John, support.
I'll second.
Peggy seconds. Okay, now discussion.
Okay, civil discourse, practice of discussing public matters in a respectful and constructive manner aimed at expanding knowledge and promoting understanding, engaging with different opinions while maintaining mutual respect and openness. Just wanted to make that clear.
Is there any more discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
And Gary?
Yep.
Motion carried. Next, old business, we have search firms. We need to decide on a search firm for a new director at this meeting. There were 3 in your packet. We have Summit HR. We have their potential contract. We have Pivot. Pivot was used for the last director. We have their old contract in there, which states what their guarantee is. I know that there was discussion that Pivot Group would do it would find us a replacement for free. I'm just going to read their guarantee because it was said that it was going to be for free. It's not for free. Upon appointment of a candidate, Pivot Group provides the following guarantee. Should the selected and appointed candidate, at the request of the client or the employee's own determination, leave the employment of the client within the first 12 months of appointment, we will, if desired, conduct one additional recruitment, meaning they'll only provide us with one candidate. Billing the client for the cost of expenses and announcements only. This request must be made within 3 months of the employee's departure. So that's Pivot's guarantee for us. Then we also have Yale and Yale, the talent acquisition support for the library director. We have their contract that they've proposed to us. And then we also have some in HR and their contract that they proposed.
Can I ask a question about Summit? Sure. The other two, the information about the other two organizations, it says they're both from Michigan. Where is Summit located?
Summit is based out of California, but they're nationwide. But their headquarters in California. I don't remember what city. I'd like to make a motion.
Before you make a motion, on the pivot, the way I read it is they will conduct one additional recruitment. That is supposed to be a complete looking for a director, not just one person. And as far as cost goes, the cost is free with one exception. Anything that and it's pretty much the same in the others, for advertising only. I talked to James and he said the cost of that would probably never go even close to $1,000. So you're looking at most $1,000 that it may cost us for a complete recruitment from Pivot.
Within 3 months.
The Summit HR one is also not for a director. It says Lapeer Library District Manager. It's on the second page at the very top.
They also didn't give us much information on their company as far as what they've done, who would be doing it.
I talked to them, it was probably 3 months ago since I talked to them, and I explained that we're looking for a director. Asked them if they've ever done that. They have. They do mostly municipal appointments, and they do a lot of work in Michigan. Like I said, they're based out of California. That's all I remember. I don't even remember the Brett's name at the moment, to be honest.
It would have been nice if they would have put it in their paperwork.
Yeah.
Any more discussion?
Do we have any cost analysis from both of these other organizations?
And they show their cost in Yo and Yo is somewhere between, I think, $6,500 and $9,500, depending on which one you want to go. Pardon?
Page 13. Nice. And what about Summit?
They're $6,500.
Well, Summit's it says that it's 20% of the total.
But
what is that? 20% of total salary for any other executive position hired.
That's 20% for other executive positions hired. So I think frankly that ought to be struck out of there. It's ambiguous about we're going to use them for something else. We're only using them if you chose them for this particular person.
The pivot would be probably a maximum of $1,000.
Actually, it's past the 3 months, so.
Pardon?
It's past the 3 months.
But the first page of the pivot one does say, we provide a 1-year placement guarantee. For any reason the chosen candidate does not work out during the first year on the job, we will redo the search at no cost to the library.
And I talked to James and they're ready to start.
Okay. Any more discussion?
I'll make a motion that we go back to pivot. I think they did a great job on the research and finding a director the last time. And it's not their fault that she only lasted 7 months. I blame that on members of the board.
Okay.
And it also chased away Amy. So, then the cost would be less for the library.
Since there's three.
There needs to be support. Is there support?
I'll support it.
Now we can move to discussion.
I was just thinking maybe a better way to do it since there's 3 firms.
Can you use the microphone, please?
But we can't hear you.
Well, we have a motion on the floor, so
Yes,
we'll deal with that motion, and then after that, we can either move on or go back to the drawing board. So, any more discussion on hiring the pivot group? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. Roll call vote. John?
No.
Peggy? Carol?
No.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion go. Okay, so.
I'd like to make a motion that we hire Summit.
Peggy supports. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
If you go with them, I would suggest 2 changes to their contract.
Okay.
One is to change the wording from manager to director, position.
Yes.
And the second one is on the first page, it refers to their job or whatever. Part of it is candidate screening and assessment through interviews. I would like to replace that with candidate information collection.
Okay.
Where are they located?
California.
So much for keeping it in Michigan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks for nothing.
No lapdog got his way.
Is there any more discussion?
We need to amend the motion. There are those changes.
Okay, you want to amend your motion?
I'd like to amend those motions with information collection
On the first page.
on the first page, and also making it a director.
And also striking out the 20% salary.
Correct.
So I'll just second that. Is there a second to the amendment?
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Bonnie? No. Perry?
No.
Motion carried. We will be hiring the Summit HR with the corrections to their agreement.
Yes.
We would like to be able to hear what you say instead of just mumbling.
It's not sitting in.
Okay, moving on to new business. We have the budget amendment to budget line contractual services.
So this is the budget amendment that was handed out today. We needed to make sure that we weren't getting any more bills to add to it. So our line for the attorney for the year is $4,000, and currently we owe $14,480.54.
Oh my
So
God.
the chair will need to make a motion to what budget line that should be paid out of.
Well, seeing as on the audit, we have quite a lot left over.
Right, we just need to know what budget line to move it from.
Well, what line was Foster Swift coming from? They had their own.
The attorney line, yep.
Well, which one do you have the most left over out of?
Well, that's not how the budget works. So the budget, like the 2025 budget, is not left over yet because it hasn't ended. So you need to move something from a budget line in 2025 to the attorney budget line. So we did do the budget. I mean, I can go back and look and see what has the most in it right now, but that won't be until that's for all of 2025. So we'll also need to know how much to move to it, because like I said, it's completely depleted right now. So it's $4,000 a year, and we currently owe $14,480.
Well, I don't have the full, I mean.
Oh, yeah, it is highlighted on here, the LDL contracted attorney, so that's under contractual services. So 12 months, $400 a month, $4,000 a year. And because of the large amount of movement, it has to be a budget amendment.
Well, I don't have is the full budget.
It would be this.
This one?
Your June budget.
For June?
Yeah. You have the most money in contingencies.
You said contingencies, Barry?
Okay. 305,000 in contingencies.
Well, then I would move it out of contingencies.
So how much needs to be moved?
We'll go to 20,000.
So that will cover the 1,400, so
And then
we'll
we'll
have
have
6,000. Okay. Thank you.
That requires action, so do I have a motion to move 20,000 from contingencies into the attorney?
I'll make a motion to move 20,000 to the attorney line in the budget.
Support. Carol supports. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Lapeer Library owned property discussion. So, Carol, you were the one that brought that up?
That was my question. I'd like to know if the library still owns the property that they bought from the city of Lapeer back in 2017,
Oh, the what?
the 8.5 acres.
Yes, we still own that.
And what's the plan for that? Is there a plan for that?
It's up for the board to decide.
Hopefully to build a new library at some point in time.
Or sell it?
I don't know what the agreement was. We'd have to look to see what it was when we bought it from Lapeer City. I think they have first option to get it back.
Okay, and my second question for that is there a map for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Be a
So,
legal description.
yeah, if I come to the office, Kara, can I get a copy of that, please? Okay, so
I can email it to you too if you want.
Pardon?
I can email it to you too if you want.
Okay, that would be nice.
Is there any more discussion?
Well, since you're emailing it to Carol, can you email it to me or the full board?
Full board.
I just am curious why you want to get rid of it.
Well,
If we were to decide to build at some point in the future, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road, you've already got property, who knows what the cost of property will be in that extended period of time. So I'm just curious.
I didn't say we would sell it.
No, I
said
just
that's
wondered
an
why you
option.
wouldn't.
And one thing we keep hearing is cuts coming down from the federal government on libraries, so in case we need to.
Is there any more discussion? Okay, seeing none. So it's, we want to discuss the change in time of the meeting. I'm going to add these two together because they kind of go together. Discussion to change time of meeting to 5 o'clock and then the financial meeting to 4 o'clock. Or the change of library meeting to a different day, first Monday of the month, second Tuesday, or the third Thursday at 10 a.m. It's up for discussion.
Why are we just wanting to move it to 5? I have a meeting right after this one, and I'm always late to it. So if we start a half an hour earlier, maybe I can make it on time. It's only half an hour. And you already changed the finance meeting to 4 instead of 4:30.
I'm just thinking if people in the public that maybe work, 5:30 would be a better time if the public want to sit in on a meeting.
A lot of people in the public work in afternoons too, and some boards do, they do an alternate morning and evening just to open it up to more people, but, yeah.
We used to have meetings, I believe they were at 11 o'clock on Thursdays in the morning, and we changed it to 5:30 when we were going for the bond proposals, if my memory is correct, so that the general public would have an opportunity to come to the meetings because no one ever came in the morning hours. So even thinking about 10 o'clock in the morning to me would be crazy. You gotta keep it in the evening.
Well, I've been talking to the American Legion about renting their place, especially for the winter time. I mean, they even have heat there. It's really great. When it rains, it doesn't leak. It's incredible, that place. And it's cheaper, it's $100 a month. And unfortunately, in our time spot, they have the Young Marines every single Thursday for the whole year. So that's why we're looking at different times, different dates, and all that. And one of the dates available was 10 a.m. on their Thursdays. We're still going to keep it on Thursday. They had that spot open. I'm not sure if they had just other people were throwing dates out, like the first Monday and the second Tuesday, and I don't know about that, but I am kind of anxious to get out of here.
Yeah. What are we paying here?
$100.
What?
$100 a
No,
month.
you just said 160.
Aren't you paying $160 for this place?
100.
Okay.
Thank you.
For me.
They brought it down?
And we have paid for the full year.
I have other meetings on the first Monday and the second Tuesday. I don't on the third Thursday.
Think about how we all froze in the winter months.
I am not disputing that one bit. It was cold in here.
We can talk with them.
But we can talk to them about that if we continue to stay here. But I don't think there should be a change right now because I think 5:30 is better for the public. It's better for being transparent with the public. And if we go to a morning meeting, we'll probably get the same like we had before, almost zero representation of the public. And to me, that's not being transparent with them.
How do you feel about alternating the time? Because there are.
What do you
some
mean
people
by
that
alternating
can't
the
make
time?
meetings. A lot of people have.
Like, for example,
Kids have
Peggy's
to-
Township has a morning one week, and do they have one, how many a month?
Just one month.
One a month, and they alternate them, so people work afternoons can go.
And
On the
people have
outside.
after school, they have kids that are in after school activities, there's a lot of things that keep people away in the evenings.
I don't know, I think that gets confusing for everybody.
I don't know if we'd be able to have it here at 10 a.m. either.
I'm sorry, what?
I don't know if we'd be able to have it here at 10 a.m. So you have it.
I was hoping to get out of here myself, and that's what brought all this up, is the Young Marines were every Thursday at 5:30, at 5 o'clock actually, so we couldn't get it then. So that's when we started looking at different dates, different times.
Maybe we could look at another place besides the American Legion, if it's, well, I don't know of any other place around there, but around here, there must be some other place that we could ask as well, or we can.
Yes.
Is there any more discussion on that?
I just want to reinstate, I'd like to hit 5 o'clock. Only half an hour.
The other thing with that is that I do work until 5, and we'd have to close one of our admin building early in order to come over. Because I have to be here at least 25 minutes to set up. So that's a public building thing all over.
I think we should just do more discussion next month. Maybe everybody can try to find a different place in Lapeer that would be
Yeah,
willing
why don't we
to-
just table
to do
it
that.
for a month and see what other dates are available. Now we know Mr. Denney, days that are bad for him.
Okay, next, the Director Search Ad Hoc Committee members.
You already need a proposed amendment bylaws?
The what? Oh,
That's under change. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like now.
Oh, I see it. Sorry. Proposed amendments to the bylaws article for section 4 agenda 5 board action. Okay, that one was by Kari?
Yeah.
Okay. So this would be discussion, and then this would have to be voted on at the next meeting. So is there any discussion on what he has proposed? Section 6. Any discussion?
Can he read that? Because I'm having trouble finding it.
Pardon?
Can you read out what it is that you want to propose?
Proposals that I made would be to change section 4 in the agenda. And it would read, the proposed agenda shall be distributed by the secretary to all board members at least 3 days before the meeting. That's already in there. The change would be correspondence regarding amendments to Detroit or Lapeer District Library policies or bylaws shall be included in the agenda correspondence. And then in section 7, under board action, it reads now, any library action must be approved at a library board meeting by a majority of the quorum of the library board unless otherwise provided by law. It's already in there. I'm adding library policies and bylaw amendments may be approved by a majority of quorum of the library board, provided the amendment was presented in writing in a previous regular board meeting of the library board. And then on Article 9, under amendments, I am not changing Section 1 at all. There is no Section 2, and I've asked to add a Section 2 stating policy amendments may be approved by a majority of the quorum of the library board, providing the amendment was presented in writing at a previous regular meeting of the library board.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion? Okay, I'm forming the Director Search Ad Hoc Committee, and on that committee we're going to put John DeAngelis, Peggy Brotzke, Carol Brown. I did ask at the last meeting if anybody, any other board members had any interest in being on these boards, and I didn't receive anything except from these three, and then also John Van Wagner from the public. So do I have a motion for this ad hoc committee for the director search?
So moved.
I'll second. Okay, any discussion?
Who was the fourth person?
John Van Wagner. He's on the school board. Okay, any more discussion?
A question. Looking at last month's minutes, when did you ask about anybody else that might want to be?
I did say that I was going to be forming them, and if anybody had any interest. If it wasn't in the meeting minutes, then it wasn't reported.
It wasn't at the April meeting, it was at the March meeting.
It was at the March meeting.
And Bonnie wasn't here at the March meeting.
I'd like to be on that personally.
Okay.
I didn't know, so I thought you were talking about it.
Well, this is a proposed motion for these four, or this is what I'm proposing is these four. Is there a motion?
How many have to be in the committee? Three? Is there a maximum amount?
It can't go over 3 because it would be considered a quorum.
It's only four.
3 board.
There's four.
Four board
Four board
members, so it
members,
can
so-
be any other
Yeah, so that's what she's saying, that
person,
she.
just not another board member.
Okay.
So is there a motion to form this ad hoc committee?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Opposed?
No.
Motion carried. Next is going to be for an ad hoc committee for the bylaws and policies. Those need to be reviewed, make sure that our policies, we've already found one discrepancy and had to change policy up. So I'd like to form this committee just so that they can go through our policies and our bylaws to make sure that we're obeying the Michigan Constitution as well as the U.S. Constitution. So on that board, Peggy Brotzke, Carol Brown, John DeAngelis, Kelly Bales, and Bill Hamilton.
Who was the last one? I'm sorry.
Bill Hamilton.
And how are we supposed to get on that committee?
It was in March. I had asked for people that wanted to be on it.
A little late, sorry.
I mean, they are on the other committee, so could we let at least Perry or Bonnie be on that committee?
I've already made these ones, so. If one of the other ones are willing to give up their spot, then that would be up to them.
Name the committee again.
If John or Peggy or Carol, would you want to give up your spot?
No.
Voted on.
What are the, who are the people on there again?
Peggy, Carol, John, Kelly Bales, and Bill Hamilton. Motion?
Make a motion to form the ad hoc committee as stated by Peggy Brotzke, Carol Brown, John DeAngelis, Kelly Bales, and Bill Hamilton.
Support? Support. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carried. Staff reports, director report, we don't have one. Assistant director for technical services.
Any questions?
Anybody have any questions? Okay, communications, we have the April and May statistics, Mary Powell's resignation letter, Yale and Yale HR advisory solutions, their contract, Summit HR's client agreement, and Pivot Group's contract. In the 6th month, Friends, we have a Friends report. Board comments.
I'll start. I apologize, but I do have somewhere to be, so I'm gonna have to leave. Okay, that's all I have to say.
I have a question in regards to if we're unable to make it to a meeting, who do we notify? Do we notify somebody at the administration, or you, or both, or
Yeah,
what?
me and Karen. Yeah.
Okay. Because that was never told to me.
Any other
board members have comments?
I'd like to comment on the Child Advocacy Center.
Could we use the microphone, please, so we can hear the comment?
I'd like to comment on the Child Advocacy Center that some of us went to. It was very interesting, very informative. Out of all the 7 members, I think there was only 2 board members that went. But it was very good. 3? Sorry, Jen. Also want to say, you know, the board's trying to get things done, and you guys keep bringing up all this old stuff. We're not doing it, you are. You're continuing this. So my question is why, and would you please stop?
Is there an MMLC report?
No, Bill was injured and is not available.
Okay, brings us to the next public comment time. If you spoke at the first public comment time, you can't speak at this one, unfortunately, but anybody else does have 3 minutes.
My name is Shirley Tomzak from Dryden Township, and I'm going to read an article on diversity written by Paul Aleo. If you want to know more about him, you can Google him. But if you read any natural history scientist, you will find the same sentiment. Take a walk through any thriving forest, and you won't find uniformity. You'll find balance through variety. Trees of every kind, fungi laced through the soil, insects, birds, predators, pollinators, and plants that bloom at different times, all playing their part. This is not an accident, it's a blueprint. Diversity isn't something nature tolerates, it's something it requires to survive. So when people talk about human diversity, like it's a threat to stability, or when systems are designed to flatten, exclude, and erase, remind them that ecosystems collapse without diversity, that monocultures breed disease, and closed loops break. We don't thrive despite our differences, we thrive because of them. Just like the forest, just like the coral reef, just like the world, we're all lucky enough to be part of it. Diversity is not a threat. It's always been a plan. And this is my admission. When an ecosystem loses diversity, it stagnates and dies. We are part of the ecosystem, and without diversity, we stagnate and destroy ourselves. And we will continue our purpose here because we know what you have in mind. And Carol, we know from your previous previous indications that you are just beginning to work on dismantling our precious life.
Good evening, Brian Kluth here, President of the district, and yes, I'm a librarian. Mr. Valle, Ms. Lawrence, let them crash this train. They're doing a fine job on their own. You don't need to be part of it. Obviously, you don't want to be part of it. Not to mention, if they had kept an attorney that actually was experienced in library law, you probably would have saved about $4,000 on this last bill. I can't understand why we are paying a lawyer to school himself on library law when we have the highest respected library law attorney in the state. Wait a minute, it's because she told you what you needed to hear, not what you wanted to hear. This is crazy.
Hallelujah! Thank you, guys. So appreciative of you. Keep it up. I just pray to the Lord Jesus that He's going to move your hearts. Even those that don't want prayer, He'll do a miracle for you. He'll show you how He loves you. He'll show you how He loves everyone. He doesn't want anyone to perish. There are going to be persecutions. It's not going to be easy. But you do have a public backing. So, you're not alone. I just praise Jesus Christ today. Because I see guys and girls that want to learn, they want to cooperate, they want to seek social justice. They want to bring peace and comfort to their society and their communities. And they're going to do a great job doing it. I'm not worried at all. Not anxious for anything. So thank you. Thank you for being up there. Thank you for taking it. Thank you for getting beat down. You're going to get lifted up. And it might not be today, but it will be. Eventually. I just pray that if you don't want prayer, if you don't want to seek the Lord today or in a little while, that He'll touch your heart eventually. He'll get you before you pass on and redeem us all. Amen?
Does anybody else from the public would like to speak? I'm a retired second grade teacher, and when I was walking in, there was the woman up here preaching, and now this man preaching, and I know that when I taught my children at school, that was something that I was never, ever allowed to do. I was never allowed to give my opinions to them because their parents were the ones that were supposed to do that. And they didn't want me telling their child about religion. And I listen here and I think about the separation of church and state, and I think, what is our purpose here? Our purpose is to get work done with the library. This discussion about church and state here is just, it's like a smokescreen to what's really happening here, in my opinion. And so I was just a bit appalled, honestly, when I heard this woman preaching at the beginning. Not because I'm not a Christian, because I am, but I just wanted to mention that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that when I was teaching, I found this poem, and my principal took it and ran with it. And it kind of talks about how important it is for kids to be introduced to everything. I mean, to lots of opinions and lots of information, and just like us to come together and make an educated decision. And so, would it be all right if I passed this poem? It's not long, and I'll read it, pass it, and gave you each one of these? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes, I'll listen.
Anyways, I thought this was a great summation of what we really want our kids to do with our library. And so I'll read it. The more you read, the more you know. The more you know, the smarter you grow. The smarter you grow, the stronger your voice when speaking your mind and making your choice. And you cannot make a good choice if you are not given the information that is out there. And by limiting what people want to read is basically limiting their ability to gain information. I realized that you wanted to protect children, and believe me, I understand that because I had them under my wing my whole career. But what the purpose here is about power and control. And it's not anyone else's business what I read, and it's not anyone else's business what these children read, but their parents.
Good evening, my name is Melissa Malcolm. I live in Davison, but I was director of the library district for 9 years until September of 2020. I looked at the library board job description today, and one of the statements was, it's about the library, not about you. Your job is to provide the highest quality library service possible for your community. From what I've seen and heard, John has repeatedly said that his goal is to be sure that a future library millage never passes. He repeated this at the Tea Party meeting just a few months ago as a library board member. Peggy is involved with the Concerned Citizens of Lapeer County, the group that took responsibility for the threatening letters that Mary Howells and others received and thus led to her resignation. She loved her job. She did not want to leave. Peggy also, at that Tea Party meeting, stated that the librarians didn't really know which books they were getting. She thought that maybe the American Library Association sent them. Really? You are both library board members, so should know what you're talking about before you're caught on video spreading untruths. I would really appreciate hearing your motives for wanting to be appointed to the library board and the goals you have for our district library. And right now, you need a library director to take care of the staff and did cancel last month's board meeting, delaying the search and the hiring of a new director, although I'm not sure who in fact is going to want to come here. And please, in front of me, never say that you want to sell it a property. It took tons of work for the board and me to look for it, to make our charts about which was the best spot. And frankly, there aren't a lot of empty places in Lapeer for a new library, and eventually there will be one. If we had a library, a new one, we wouldn't need to be in this ridiculous hall because we'd have a meeting room that was big enough. The other thing I would like to say is that one of the reasons also that I wanted a later board meeting at 5:30 or later was that we don't have young people with children sitting up here right now on the board because they're working or whatever. It's much more important for us to represent the demographics of our community, and that means young people who may be working and can only come at night. And the last thing I want to say is that the policy discrepancy with the public time, I believe, was correct when it was originally placed on the website. It was changed by Amy because you all know what she was dealing with when she came to a board meeting. I would like to say that all of the policies, I'm pretty sure, were written by Ann Soink, who is a library attorney and knows exactly what she's doing. So you may be wasting time and money to try to go through and change them again. Thank you.
I will try to be brief. Robert Thomas, I've been an attorney in Lapeer for 50 years. I first went to the library in 1956. I have been using that library for many years. My late wife worked there for 14 years. My aunt was a librarian for the state of Missouri. She was a children's librarian for the state of Missouri many years ago. Just a couple comments. It should be noted that Mr. Mass is not a resident of the district, of the Lapeer Library District. Second, he talked about what the restrictions are in prisons. Remember, everybody that's in prison is a convicted felon. None of us are convicted. We have all our rights. And lastly, if you have prayer, and I am a devoted Christian, both my grandfathers were ordained ministers. Are we talking about Christian prayer? Are we talking about Islamic prayer? Are we talking about Jewish prayer? Are we talking about Sikh prayer? All those are represented in Congress. Are we just talking about conservative Christian prayer? The bishop of the Protestant Episcopal Church was basically slammed by the president because she dared to pray for Christians. That is all I have to say.
We didn't have to waste so much time with all of the belittling and name-calling. Granted, there were a lot of valid points made, and I appreciate that we all have the opportunity to contribute. But if there weren't so much character assassination and attacks going on, we wouldn't have to pay so much for an attorney to sit here and listen to all of this garbage. But I am here to finish off the part about the 5th District's decision pertaining to, this was pertaining to a library in Lano, Texas. First of all, the plaintiffs cannot invoke a right to receive information to challenge a library's removal of books. Yes, Supreme Court precedent sometimes protects one's right to receive someone else's speech, but plaintiffs would transform that precedent into a brave new right to receive information from the government in the form of taxpayer-funded library books. The First Amendment acknowledges no such right. The only sensible course, and happily the one supported by reams of precedent, is to hold that the right to receive information does not apply here. A plaintiff may not invoke that right to challenge a library's decisions about which books to buy, which books to keep, or which books to remove. Second, a library's collection decisions are government speech and therefore not subject to free speech challenge. Many precedents teach that someone engages in expressive activity by curating and presenting a collection of third-party speech. People do this all the time. Think of the editors of a poetry compilation choosing among poems, or a newspaper choosing which editorials to run, or a television station choosing which programs to air. So do governments. Think of a city museum selecting which paintings or sculptures to feature in an exhibit. Finally, we note with amusement and some dismay the unusually over-caffeinated arguments made in this case. Judging from the rhetoric in the briefs, one would think Lano County had planned to stage a book burning in front of the library. Take a deep breath. This is all part of the publication pertaining to this. Says take a deep breath, everyone. No one is banning or burning books. If a disappointed patron cannot find a book in the library, he can order it online, buy it from a bookstore, or borrow it from a friend. All Llano County has done here is what libraries have been doing for 2 centuries. Decide which books they want in their collection. This is what it means to be a library.
Your time's up.
Thank you.
Susan Huff, I live in Lapeer County and in the library district. Access to a public library is one of the essential ways Americans have to exercise their First Amendment right to information. And library board members have a duty to protect that right within the library they oversee. In their service as trustees, their duty is not to themselves, not to their religion, not to their political ideologies, not to the community at large, but to the First Amendment and to protecting our public libraries. So, how does saying a ritual pledge composed by a socialist salesman as part of a marketing scheme to sell flags and magazine subscriptions protect our library? How does praying loudly in public, like a Pharisee, by an individual board member who shouldn't be acting unilaterally for a library that doesn't have a religion, protect our library? How does changing the meeting time to make it more difficult for citizens to exercise their right to attend an open public meeting when the person who needs that time changed actively sought this position and knew what time the meeting occurs? How does that protect our library? How does replacing the library's specialized lawyer with a generalist who has to research every question, billing the library for learning what the previous lawyer already knew, and more than tripling the annual budget for legal costs in the first half of the year, protect our library? John, I hope you're enjoying that. The ideologues on this board are either incompetent or they have an agenda that puts their personal ideologies ahead of protecting our public library. They're creating a hostile environment for our library professionals and threatening the library's ability to hire and retain top-notch staff. They're writing their own fiction, crafting stories about dangers in our library, stories filled with inaccuracies and missing information, but loaded with sensationalized sexual outrage about explicit, illicit content and library rumors intended to divide the community. And Carol, if you're wondering why we're still saying these things, look at the Foster Swift memo that was written for this board. Look at the bill from your attorney and look at the itemized details on what he's been researching. Whether it's a culture war agenda or it's incompetence is going to become apparent very quickly in the next few months as we watch this board. In the meantime, keep the Gospel of Matthew 7:15 in your mind. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves.
Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak? Okay, I'll close public time. Meeting, or I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Meeting adjourned.